Hi, I'm Amy Deitch, and I'm a 12th grader in Beiserfka. And as any senior in any school, you start STEM application worries from the first day of 12th grade. And as it began, all the drama and all the problems and all the rumors flying around started with it. And I succumbed to all that pressure, and I started down that crazy road called STEM applications, and it was stressful, and it took a lot of time off my hands, and it caused me a lot of anxiety. And it's really embarrassing to say, but I became like that 12th grader that is so stressed out about STEM and like talks about it all the time and thinks about it and sleeps it and eats it and walks it, and everything I'm thinking about is seminary, and every conversation I'm having is seminary too. And it just kept getting crazier and crazier. I kept thinking about it way too much and overthinking and rethinking, and I just decided I need professional help. So I decided to turn to my Rebbe, because that's who I rely on and that's who I feel like I can really turn to. So I always felt comfortable writing Panim, talking to the Rebbe. That was never something I had trouble with, but writing into the Igris, that I had never done, and that was a very scary thought to me. And so I was like, this is kind of a special case and maybe I should go for it, but I was really nervous. I was asking people like, should I not? I was worried that if I didn't get a really clear response, I would just like lose all faith and never write again. And I really didn't want that. But I decided, no, like this is something that I really need to do. So I got an English Igris, and I called my father, asked him to make a date and time, and we decided that we would go to the aisle on Sunday. So we figured this out on Wednesday. So from Wednesday to Sunday, I was really stressed. I kept thinking about what exactly I would write and exactly how I'd tell the Rebbe and how he would respond and if he would respond. And it was very nerve-wracking for me, but I am a very open person, so I kept telling all my friends and family about it. And after telling so many people, a lot of my friends actually wanted to come with me. So I asked my father. He said sure. So it ended up that on Sunday, me, my father, and three of my friends ended up going to the aisle. Probably they wanted to talk about their own issues with seminary, because it ends up causing a lot of mayhem in a person's life. So I put my pawn into the English Igris in a random slot, and I was way too nervous to open it up at the actual kever of the Rebbe, so I took it out with me, and I met my friends at the Rebbe video in that room over there. They're like, hey, so what did it say? Like, such a big deal. You were so dramatic about it. Like, what did it say already? And I was like, oh, I didn't open it. And they're like, what? Like, do it right now. So I went into the other room. I opened it up, and it opened to this super random page, starting of a new chapter about Torah Madai, the Rebbe explaining all of what he thought about evolution and every scientific theory that disproved all the Torah and everything that Torah stands for. And I was like, okay, so how does this apply to me at all? So I decided to open up to the first letter of that chapter. And the first letter, again, the Rebbe wrote like 5 paragraphs explaining evolution and how to disprove it, and how, how could it be that we come from monkeys, all these things that the Rebbe was saying. And my heart kind of dropped, because all I wanted was the response to tell me, like, where should I go? Where do I belong? And then by the 5th paragraph, the Rebbe actually said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he started mentioning, like, I can't believe you didn't mention shlichus, because as you know, when you go on outreach and you inspire others, that in turn is the most inspiration for yourself, and that's how you grow the most. And I really felt like that was like a clear response to me. Like, all these seminaries had different things about it, but one of the seminaries that I really wanted to go to was all about shlichus. And since the Rebbe, like, out of nowhere, talking about something as random as evolution, started mentioning about shlichus, like, I felt like the Rebbe really had my back and really like made a point to answer me. And it wasn't just a letter to some person who asked about evolution. It was really a letter to me.
Hello, my name is Chana Reiter, and I'm on Shulchas in Roslyn, Long Island. My story started about 3 years ago. I've been getting constant minor headaches, not that bad, but every time I had a regular doctor's appointment, I mentioned it to them. And they would always say, like, it makes sense, you're a teenager, a lot of stress from school, not much sleep. So it's normal, makes sense. But as time has been going on, getting longer, and it's been 3 years, I was like, it doesn't make sense. It would even happen on vacation when I would get a good night's sleep. So what they were saying didn't really make too much sense. So at an endocrinologist appointment, I mentioned it to my doctor that I've been getting headaches even when I got good night's sleep and on vacation. And she said, what about taking an MRI? You should get an MRI. And so she sent in a request form. But since it was coming from an endocrinologist and not from a neurologist, which if it would be coming from a neurologist, it would seem like much of a more important emergency. So the insurance didn't accept it. So to backtrack a little, I never really wrote it to the Rebbe. It wasn't major headaches. It was just minor. It was okay. So I never really wrote the situation to the Rebbe, but I was keep thinking I need to, but I just never got the chance. Whatever. I never really wrote it. And so since the insurance didn't accept it, since it wasn't from a neurologist, my mother made an appointment with a top neurologist. So I went to him. Actually, the appointment was on Hanukkah vacation, and he was Jewish, so we did a little mivtzoyim with him. And he said we should get an MRI. And I said, I know. My endocrinologist also said I should get an MRI, but insurance doesn't accept it because they don't think it's such an emergency. So it's not from a neurologist. And he said, don't worry, the insurance never rejects it from me. So he sent in a request form, and yes, I was going to get an MRI. And that night after the neurologist appointment, every night I opened up like the Achos booklet and I read a Rebbe letter or a Rebbe story. And I always go in order of the stories or the letters just to have it in order. But that night I was just exhausted and I was very tired from like the whole day, whatever. And I just opened up to any page. I wasn't even thinking that I'm opening up to any page. I wasn't having in mind the headaches, nothing. I just opened up the booklet and I opened up and it said, it was related to me that you are suffering from headaches, chas v'shalom, something like that. And I stood there for like a few minutes just shocked. Without even continuing to read the letter. I was like just shocked looking at it. I continued to read the letter, and it said that the Rebbe would daven at the Frierdiker Rebbe's kever, and that we should remember that Hashem is the true healer. He just gives the doctors the potential to heal. And then the Rebbe said that I should have nachas and wealth and parnasa, whatever, a lot of good brachos. And basically just the reason why I was so shocked and I felt so connected to the Rebbe was that I didn't even tell the Rebbe about it yet. I didn't even write in a pon or anything yet. And the fact that I was so tired, I opened up to any random page. Hashem made me open up to that one was obviously like just to show me like I'm not going through this alone. Like Hashem and the Rebbe are literally watching me and seeing that I'm going through this. And I was, of course, beyond shocked, like I said. And I knew for sure the MRI would go totally normal, especially that I see that the Rebbe is watching me right now. I'm like, okay, it's going to go totally normal. I did. I took the MRI, and of course, the results were 100% normal, and the headaches have been getting a lot better. And Baruch Hashem, like this story really showed me that the Rebbe is really watching you every single minute.
So it was the first day of Chol Hamoed Sukkos, and my brother was in Empire Stiebel. As he left, there was an accident and a truck ran over his foot. And it was a really, really big miracle because the only thing that happened was he only left the accident with a few broken bones in his foot. And so that was a really big miracle. And now a few weeks later, it was the 12th grade retreat. It was so much fun. And the next morning I woke up excited to go to school and have fun with friends, and I couldn't walk. And I looked at my foot and I saw that my knee was like blown up, at least like an inch. And my mother quickly took me straight to the doctor. The doctor looked at it and she's like, she needs to go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital and we took some tests, and they wanted to see like, is it something in my blood? Is it something external? And they gave me some antibiotics and I was sent home to wait for the tests. And while we were waiting, my mother said, let's check the mezuzahs. So they sent in the mezuzahs. So I woke up with my knee injury on Wednesday. So Thursday, my mother decided to send in the mezuzahs to be checked. And obviously she saw my brother hurt his foot. Now I hurt my foot. So let's just be safe and check the mezuzahs. So they sent in the mezuzahs to get checked. Friday, I woke up and I was able to limp. And this was like a pretty big deal because the past 2 days I wasn't able to put like any pressure on, like at all on it. And now I was able to just put like slight pressure on it and limp. And this is before we got the results back from the mezuzah. So the doctor called us back in and he just worked a little bit on my knee, and he said, okay, we'll wait another week or two, see what's going on. Hopefully the tests come back, and we'll know where to go from there. So I went back home, and as the day progressed, I was able to put some more and more pressure on my knee and on my foot in general. And we got the results back a few hours after I went to the doctor on Friday, like right before Shabbos. My father called my mother and he said, check your email. So my mother was like, why? He said, just check it. So she checked her email, and it was a forward from the cipher, and it said, by Uvelachtecha Vaderach, there was like a scratch on it in between the words or on the actual words. I'm not exactly sure, but there was a problem with Uvelachtecha Vaderach. And the mezuzah that it was on was my room's mezuzah. So that was obviously like a clear sign to me that even after Gimel Tammuz, the Rebbe still has his way to bring out his answers to us in a clear way, even though he's not here with us physically.
Hi, my name is Rika Magnitsky, and this is my Rebbe story. So a few years back, when I was the only girl, and I had 2 brothers, I really, really, really wanted a baby sister. And I asked my mother, and she said, how about you write to the Rebbe? So I asked the Rebbe, I wrote a pawn for a baby sister, please, the Rebbe should daven to Hashem on my behalf, and I chose a random igros from our bookshelf, and I put in. And when I opened it, the letter was all about how a person shall be bitachon in Hashem, that everything is for the good, and that really just believe in Hashem, and everything will be okay. So I took that as a lesson. I should really, really, really believe in Hashem, and Hashem will give us a baby sister with God's help. But as time went by, still, we had no baby sister, and I started, losing hope a little bit. So again, I decided to write to the Rebbe, and I wrote a pawn saying, Rebbe, please, please, we really want a baby sister. And so again, I went to the bookshelf, chose a random igros, and stuck the pawn into a random page. And when I opened it, I was literally shocked, because the page was all about how a person should have bitachon in Hashem, and it was actually the same book, because I saw my pawn there. It was the same book that I had written to earlier and put my pawn in, and I was literally shocked, because from all this farm in the igros, like on the shelf, and from all the pages, that's the one that I got into, and it was literally like a message that I have to believe in Hashem, and Hashem will give us a baby sister. And surely but surely, like a while later, my mother had a baby girl. And this was like such a lesson that really just believe in Hashem, and especially if the Rebbe says so. And this was very inspiring to me, because the Rebbe showed me how it's so important to believe in Hashem.
At the end of last year, I broke my ankle, and it was very scary for me. I didn't know what was going to happen next, how long it would last, what was going to be. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor told me that I was a chip in my bone, and that would take around a month or to 3 months to heal. And for me, every day was like a year, really, really long, and a lot of pain. And I knew that I had to rely on a miracle from Hashem that was beyond nature, and not just what the doctor was saying that would take much longer. And the day before I broke my ankle, my father was at the IL, and as soon as he walked in, there's a Rebbe video that plays, and the Rebbe was saying right at that moment, Refuah Shalema, and he had no idea why. And the next day, I break my ankle. So as soon as I heard that, I felt such a special connection, and I realized that the Rebbe really cares for me, and that I should ask him for a bracha. And it was one of the first times I asked my father to open the Igros Kodesh for me, and the Rebbe, I got such a clear answer. The Rebbe wrote how you're going to have a Refuah Shalema, and you just need to have hope and believe in Hashem and think good. And I don't remember all the details, but he was really focusing on having belief in Hashem, that it's going to be good. And from that, I took it upon myself fully. I went through all the way that I'm going to have belief and be strong. And I had to go for a weekly checkup. So the next week that I was supposed to go, it was supposed to be on a Friday, but that Friday was a legal holiday, so I couldn't go, and I was really upset to have to wait over Shabbos, another whole Shabbos. I had in my mind already that the next week I would go, there would be major progress, and I would feel much better. And I had to wait till Monday. Monday came, and I went there, and while I'm driving in the Uber in the morning, it was early morning, we're driving to Manhattan to the hospital, I had in my mind, I made a firm decision. The Rebbe told me to have hope and belief. I said, this is the last time I'm going to the hospital. And honestly, that really, in my head, it was kind of like irking me, like, that's really not gonna happen. Even if I was completely healed, you always have to come back like 6 months later for like a checkup. And I was like, no, this is my last time going. It was just too traumatic, the whole experience going there and just being there. I was like, this is my last time going there. And I came there and the doctor checked it and he said, thank God it's all healed. There's just microscopically a small little dent, and you just need to keep. He gave me a new kind of cast, which was like a shoe boot. And as soon as I felt comfortable slowly to walk on it, then I would be able to walk on it and from there progress. And he said, unless I have any major pain, I don't have to come back to him at all. And I didn't have any major pain after that, and that was the last time that I went there. And we see from there that the Rebbe really, really cares. And even though we can't see him physically, he guided me and he cared for me and he cares for each one of us. And we just need to open up and accept what he has for us.
When I was in 4th grade, we were on the way back from the Kinnos, me, my mother, my sister, and we obviously, our suitcases were overweight because we were bringing home gefilte fish and meat and plates and everything else that we needed for the next year till the next Kinnos. And we get to the counter and the guy says either you have to pay or you have to get rid of some of the stuff. So getting rid of the stuff was not an option. We needed every single scrap in there. So we decided we're going to pay. My mother in the beginning, she tried to reason with him, we're a culture center, we need these stuff, we can't get them anywhere else. He's like, beautiful, I don't care. So my mother took out a credit card to pay, and he says, that's not your name. So my mother's like, it's my husband's card. So I was too young to realize exactly what was going on. But my mother said, basically, he didn't want to take the card because it wasn't my mother's name. So my mother tried to find a little bit of cash, but we used it all on Kingston Avenue, so we didn't really have anything left. He wasn't accepting the card, and we didn't have any cash to pay, and we needed the stuff, and our flight was leaving very soon. So my mother picked up the phone. She called my aunt who lived in Crown Heights, and she's, Esther, can you please go to the aisle and ask for bracha that we should get home safely with everything. So the second my mother hung up, there was a guy that passed by, like, hey, Rabbitson, how are you? Long time no see. And we have a lot of people that come by, but generally my parents remember who comes. So my mom's like, oh, hi, good to see you too. She's like trying to like find out who he was because didn't remember him. And he's like, oh, remember I ate by your house last week. It was so nice, the first Shabbat experience, and I loved it. And he saw that we were like getting a little bit stressed out. He's like, so what's the problem? So my mother like briefly explained that we were trying to bring home a lot of stuff and our suitcases were overweight and we didn't have a way of paying for it. He's like, oh, no problem, don't worry, I'll pay for it. And he just pulled out a wad of cash and he paid for it. And my mother's like, no, don't worry, like we'll pay you back. He's like, hey, I'll take down your email and I'll write to you and we'll get your bank account information. We haven't heard from him since. None of my siblings remember him. My parents don't remember him. We have no idea who he was, but he came at the right time to the right place, and Baruch Hashem, we had our gefilte fish.
Hi, my name is Chana Sepper, and my story happened to me when I was in 10th grade. I was looking for a place to go in the summer, and 10th grade is not an easy year to find a camp to go to. You don't have many options, and this particular year was especially hard to find a place. All the groups that like I tried going with all ended up finding like different places, and it didn't end up working. So it came closer and closer to the summer, and by that year, convention was much later on in the year, and one of the things that we did was that we went to the Rabbi's room. Now, I got in contact with a shlucha before convention, couple of weeks before, and we emailed, and she needed a 10th grade staff, and she said that she'll probably most likely take me, and it was all good and well, and then a few weeks later, which was about a week or two before convention, she said her niece is going to come and she's probably not going to need an extra staff. So I was like a little nervous about it. And then by convention, I went to the Rabbi's room and I just asked for a bracha. And knowing that the shlucha hadn't responded since she had told me about her niece 2 weeks ago. So I asked for a bracha to make sure that I'll find the right place for me. And when I came out, I was waiting for a group of friends, and I looked at my phone, it rang, and I got an email from the shlucha saying that she can't take me, which was a really, really amazing thing because the group that I was going to go with was really not my thing, but I was going for it anyways just because I really wanted to be somewhere and I didn't want to be home. And I was really, really upset about it because I was like, I could have
found somewhere, and I was so close to finding something, and then it's so close to the summer and I still didn't find anything. And I finally found, I went to a concert with a friend of mine, and my friend told me, she said, oh, by the way, just wondering if you have anything to do, whatever. And she told me that there's a camp that's looking for one more staff. And I said, great, let me look into it. I looked into it, and Baruch Hashem, that was the right place for me, and it was all Hashgacha Pratis, but particularly with the bracha of the Rebbe, as soon as I got out of the Rebbe's room, like for me, that I thought like right away was the place for me. So many times that we think like, oh, this is like perfect, and like we sometimes need to take a step back and like let the Rebbe realize that this is not what's good right now. That's not good. It's not good at the moment for me. And the Rebbe is obviously throughout every person's life helping you and constantly giving you brachas.
It was when I was in 8th grade. The principal called me to her office and she asked me if I can please speak at the Chap Shvat for bring-in for grades 4 through 8. And I said yes because I was put on the spot. After I left, I was thinking to myself, what did I get myself into? Because that's around 500 girls and I don't like speaking in front of a lot of people. I was very nervous about it, but it was in a few weeks, so I said it's okay and I'll be fine. A few weeks later, it was the day before Chap Shvat, we went with school on a trip to the aisle, and in my pon, since I was very nervous, I wrote to the Rebbe if I can please have a bracha to do well my speech. And I took my pon, I put it in, I didn't think much about it. I came home that night and I prepared my speech. I practiced it, and it was about being named after Rabbi Chaim Mushka and how her name is special because I'm named after her. And as I was heading to bed, I opened the Living Torah app, and all the videos were according to the theme of Chap Shvat, since Chap Shvat was that night. And I chose to watch the My Encounter video, which was about a woman who said that she was very close with the Rebbitzin. And 3 years after the Rebbitzin passed away, they asked her if she can please speak for them. If Nishiyah Chabad asked her if she could please speak to the woman about Rebbitzin Chaim Mushka. And she got in touch with the Rebbe, and she told the Rebbe, and the Rebbe encouraged her to do it. And she says in the video, I was petrified. It was my first time speaking in public. There was 1,400 women. But I got a bracha from the Rebbe, and she did it. And this, obviously, as soon as I watched it, I was very shaken up. And I realized that it was also a bracha for me, not only for her. And I would do well. It was the same day, Chap Shvat, talking about the same thing, Rebbe Chaim Mushka. And the Rebbe was answering me and giving me a bracha for that. And this shows how the Rebbe is connected to every single chassid, even a 13-year-old girl who didn't expect any answer from him. He found a way to answer.